Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reddit Edit, where we edit somebody's Reddit question. So, what we're going to do today is we were asked. Give me a second here. I forgot to bring this in. We were asked, how do you do this? It's one of those old caption music videos. I'm not going to play the track because I don't have the license to it. But basically text appearing and it shifts and it moves and it rotates and it's all different types of fonts and so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a simplified version of this that'll teach you the two main basic techniques that are in here. Two or three of them anyways. I went and grabbed a track over from NCS. Here, give me a sec. So I went and grabbed a track from NCS. NCS.io is a website where you can get some tracks for free with attribution for your YouTube videos and stuff. They're not a sponsor. I don't have sponsors yet. But they've got like some very different music. It's not like the usual typical like crappy, no, not crappy, but very generic music bed. They've got like tracks that are a bit more interesting. So here, like this is the track that I've currently downloaded. And they've got tons of other tracks like this, for example. I'm just grabbing one at random. So a bit different than what you're used to from attribution type free songs. So we're going to do a couple of lyrics from Mortal Funk Remix here. All you have to do is where was the download? Yeah, all you have to do is make sure to grab the attribution and put it into your description and so on. And as always, even though I'm recommending this, do your own research. Go and read their usage policy. For example, I know for a fact that you're not allowed to use these tracks on your short films and stuff. You might have to go and get like an extra license for that. But for your YouTube videos, this is great. So let's move on. All right, we're back here. So I've got the audio track here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it. And I'm just going to clear that. There you go. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to Transcription. This is something that's only available in DaVinci Resolve Studio. What it's going to do is it's going to go through the audio and get all the text for it. And it's very, very accurate. It's not always perfect, but it's usually quite accurate. So Transcription, I'm going to let it chew through this. Should be pretty quick. There you go. Oh, this is the wrong song. I was trying it with something else earlier. There you go. This is the one. So right click, audio transcription, transcribe. There you go. And there's not too many lyrics in that song. But these are the lyrics we're going to deal with. And this is pretty cool because you can use this to select. So you'll notice, sorry about that. Apparently it freaks out when I move things around. As I click on things, it goes to that position in the track in your bin. So let's say I'm going to do the text for this section. So look at that. It's selecting that part in the media, right? Lacking all emotion. I think we're going to do just these words because it's not a complicated technique, but it is tedious. Like there's a lot of work that you have to do, but it's all kind of the same idea. So we're just going to do a couple of sentences, like these 3 sentences, to give us some variation. And now what I can do, because I've got this, I can just click here and say place on top, insert, or append. So I'm just going to, whatever, there's nothing there, so any of those works. And I've inserted it. And now I can close this. Oh, no, I need to reopen it. Audio transcription. I'm just going to copy that text while I'm there because I need it. Copy. Perfect. And now it's only given us that part. Isn't that crazy? This is great for when you're editing, like, let's say you're editing a talking head or a podcast or something, because you can now go and quickly find your clips using text, using Control F to find out when did I talk about, the new RTX 5090 in this thing. You can use that to quickly find your text within those clips and get those clips out to your timeline. It's amazing. Makes things so much faster. So if you don't have Studio, what you can do is you can go and get Whisper AI. I'm using it inside right now of an application called Pinocchio. And Pinocchio allows you to quickly install a bunch of AI tools without having to, be a coding genius. So I just went and installed it. I've got the UI that loads up. I'm going to grab that same track that we had. It wasn't that one, it was this one. I'm just going to drag it right here. And we're just going to leave it at automatic. And we're going to have it give us an SRT file, which is basically a closed caption file with like time codes and stuff. And translate to English, we don't need to, it is English. Add timestamp to the end of file name. I don't think we need to do anything else. So let's try it. Generate subtitle file. Click this, give it a couple of seconds. It's going to take a few seconds the first time because it's loading up the large version 2 model. So it's apparently quite accurate. I don't use it very much because I've got the Studio version of DaVinci. So I just use the transcription tool inside of DaVinci because it works perfectly fine. The initializing the model is only the first time that you run it. Every time that you start the application. After that, it doesn't need to initialize the model because it is already initialized. So if you're doing multiple audio files, one after the other, it'll be much faster. We won't have this waiting for it to finish loading the model. Let's take a look and see what it's doing. I'm going to click on terminal here and it'll bring us the terminal. So you see it's currently loading the 3 gig model here. And I'll actually prove that you don't need to run this every time. I'll do another file right after. So there we go, 2.9, 3. And it's loaded the 3 gig model. And if we go back to this, it's loading up the audio. It's transcribing. And there we go. So if we take a look, I'm just going to go back to the top. It was done in 2 minutes. Gotta take heartache, but I don't think I'm ever going to get past you. All day, I'll stay. You and me, a beautiful disaster. Look at that. Now, just to prove it, I'm going to grab, let's say, this actual tutorial as an MP4. I could now download this file. I'm just going to click here. It's going to ask where I want to download it. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to download it. I don't need it. But you download it and it brings it down as a text file. I'm going to grab this very tutorial and we're going to put that in there. Load file here. Oh, right. I've got to remove it first. Let's load that file. So that's a 400 meg file, video file. It's the OBS recording of this very tutorial that you're watching right now, without this part. And if I say generate subtitle file, oh, it does need to initialize the model. That's interesting. I didn't think it would need to. Oh, but it was super fast. It took like 2 seconds because it's currently loaded in memory. And there we go. it's running through like an hour's worth of video, trying to get the audio out. I'll come back in 2 seconds. And here we are. And that took 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Not too bad for a 1 hour long video. And hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reddit Edit, where we edit people's Reddit questions. You see, we've got like the actual text and the time codes. So this is a really good alternative if you don't have Studio, and it's completely free. You can, if you don't want to get through the hassle of learning how to install AIs and stuff, you can just get Pinocchio, and it basically allows you to install a bunch of different tools. I'm going to do one more just for fun. That's the actual Mortal Funk, the song that we did a minute ago. So I'm going to go back to the interface here. I'm going to remove this and put that in there. And we're going to generate a subtitle file. And that should take like literally like a minute. Yeah, you see, like, that was ridiculously fast. So if we go back, it's stranded in the open, dried out tears of sorrow, lacking all emotion, staring down the barrel. That's the song that we were working on with, earlier. And that's it. So this is a good alternative to the transcription tool in DaVinci. And like I said, you've got it here as a time-coded output. You can actually load an SRT into DaVinci and load it up as a transcription layer, not transcription, closed caption layer. And there we are. Now back to our original tutorial. But anyways, so we've got this clip. I'm going to add a effect. We're going to add a fusion comp on it. And like that. Perfect. Right click, open Fusion. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a background. I'm just going to leave it black. I don't care. And I'm going to add a text node, and I'm just going to paste my 3 sentences in there. So I've got some place where that way I don't have to go back to the transcription window all the time. So I've got that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have to create text blocks for different parts of each sentence. So each word or each, couple of words. So let's start off with the first one. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to copy, paste it here. And we're just going to deal with this first sentence. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to break that up into stranded in the open or stranded in the open. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to do 3 sections, right? Like this, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to bring them all into I'm going to need these to be in 3D space. So I'm going to actually, instead of using oh no, yeah, I still need a multi-merge. I'm going to grab a multi-merge. Going to bring all of those into the multi-merge. There we go. And then the multi-merge is going to go into a image plane. The image plane is going to go into a merge 3D. We're going to add a camera. We're going to add a render 3D. And we're going to put that on our background. So what are we doing here? We're taking our text, we're putting it on a 3D plane. Sorry, we're taking our text, we're merging it all together, we're grabbing that merge, adding it onto a 3D plane, putting that plane into a 3D scene with a camera, rendering that out as a 2D image, and putting it on top of our black background. And then sending that off to the Edit tab. Perfect. So I'm going to go to my multi-merge now, and I'm going to clean up, position my text in the way that I want it to. So the first word's going to be stranded. And this one's going to be in the, and that one's going to be open. Excellent. Let's move those around. Let's grab our first text, which is going to be stranded. Let's just stay with the default text, open sans. Normally I'd make some nice font selections and all that, but I can't be bothered right now. Where are you? Okay, you're not connected. There you go. All right, so I'm going to make this. I need to get more fonts. So we're going to grab this stranded in the open. Yeah, that's kind of neat. I like how that looks. I'm going to position that here, and then the open we're going to make bigger. I'm going to anchor it up here. Put that anchor right there. And we're going to go like this. And let's make that, let's say, I don't know, a blue. There you go. And this one, let's make it a red. I'm just going random here. I'm not trying to create like a beautiful layout. I want to teach you the techniques behind it and not like the design part of it. So we've got our text. Excellent. That looks pretty good. Let's just move that around a little bit. No, that's good. So now it's actually being put onto a plane in 3D space. Look at that. Isn't that neat? Now we've got a camera. The problem is the camera is currently looking past the text. So if we take a look at our render 3D here, we won't see anything. We just need to grab our camera and move it. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to open up a second window. Where is it? It's down there. Perfect. And we're bringing that into the render. And we're just going to grab the camera, move it backwards until it's in a position I like. Like that. Like this. That looks pretty good to me. Yeah. That's good. Okay. So that'll be our beginning. So next thing is we need to be able to time the animation of the text in time with the audio. We've got a problem. We're in Fusion. Fusion doesn't really do audio. See? No audio. What we can do, though, is we can bring a media in and tell it to grab the audio from the timeline. Actually, if I go back here, yeah, exactly. And now, even though it's not connected, look at that. We've got audio. And you can actually see it. If you go over here to your keyframes, media, I'm going to right-click, scale to fit, and there it is. Now, audio in Fusion gets a bit funky sometimes, so it's always a good idea to every now and again flip to the edit to make sure that the cached version of the audio in Fusion didn't get misaligned. And when you stop and start again, it sometimes like goes back a couple of frames. So it's a bit finicky, but at least it'll get you very close to it. But always switch between Fusion and edit, every so often, just to make sure things are still correct. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, let's see. Perfect. I wanted to make sure that the audio hadn't shifted over in Fusion. Looks good. I'm going to close my keyframes. And now we're going to try to time the text. In this first series of in this first sentence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the write on property. So we're going to go beginning. So stranded ends about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my text one here. And at this point is when the word stranded finishes. I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to pull back the write on. Write on tells you how much of the word or sentence is actually written out. So here's 0% of it and then 1% or 100%, right? Because it's between 0 and 1. And now, as we play this back, And this is what I was talking about, the audio being a bit funky in Fusion. So that looks pretty good. Maybe we want to change the timing of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my keyframes. I've got text 1 here selected, so I'm going to select this. I'm going to right click, scale to fit, perfect. And I'm just going to move these around a little bit. I'm going to have this start a little bit later and finish a bit earlier. Perfect. Now we have to do in the open. Keyframes. Okay, so we're going to go to next text. Right about here. So I've selected in the open, right? And I'm going to set a keyframe at 0 here. And you see when I started back, it went back a couple of words. And right about here is when it's going to finish writing. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot to set keyframes. So I'm going to go back around here, set a keyframe, go back. Right about there. And then this one, I'm just going to go back a couple, set a keyframe. And we're going to go like that. What does that look like? Now I've got here under playback, I set my Fusion memory cache on. So that brings us this little red, blue and red line. When it's blue, it's pre-cached and it'll run at full frame rate. I say that, and yet it's all jittery. That looks pretty good. So that's the first part. So we've got our first sentence done. Excellent. It's in 3D space. Why? It's flat and nothing's happening. Well, we'll deal with that in a minute. So I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to move it up because we're going to create another sentence. The next sentence is going to be, I'm going to grab this, Control Copy, Control V. Dried out tears of sorrow. Okay, so that's going to be our next sentence. So dried out tears of sorrow. I think that's how we're going to do it. Again, 3 text blocks, Control Copy, Control V, Control V. And that's going to be dried out. And that's going to be tears. Tears of. And last word is going to be sorrow. Okay. Again, we're going to put a multi-merge. Slap that in there. And what we're going to do is we're not going to merge it into this 3D merge. We're going to create a new 3D merge, and we're going to put it in here. The reason for that is that we're going to move these 2 sets of blocks in 3D space in a minute. So I'm just prepping ahead of time. Oh, right, I need a image plane. There we go. So I'm just going to turn off this image plane so we can see our new text, but that's just temporary. I'm going to bring this out so we can see our things. There you go. Okay, so let's do our multi-merge. Move that out. Dried out tears of sorrow. So how are we going to show this? You know what? I think we're going to do this. Dried out tears. So we'll say 0.15. And same thing here, 0.15. Like this. And then this one, we're going to lay out, we're going to rotate by 90 degrees. And we're going to set it here. And we're going to put it like that. Perfect. Like this. And just increase its size. Let's bring this down a bit. Move that over a little bit. Let's make that text a blue. There you go. Okay. And let's make sorrow uppercase. No. There you go. That's good enough. So what are we going to do? Well, with this one, with the first sentence, what we did is we used a write-on. We're going to use a slightly different technique for this one. We're going to use masks to reveal each text segment. So let's go back. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rectangle mask and bring it in here. What the rectangle mask does is it says text 1_2. You're allowed to do your job, which is be text, only inside this rectangle, right? So as I move it around, it's only within that rectangle. So I'm going to use that to reveal the text. So let's bring that height in a little bit. And I think I'm going to have this come up here like this. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And so let's go back to our audio. Right here, we're going to set our keyframe on the center for this rectangle here. And right here, we're going to have it completely revealed. Now I'm going to go in between these two. And the reason for that is I don't like how sharp that edge is. So I'm just going to add a little bit of soft edge to it. And I'm going to pull back on the border just a tiny bit. Now let's see what that looks like. That was pretty good, right? Let's take a look at it again. That's not bad. So now let's do Tears of Sorrow. We're going to do the same thing. Grab a rectangle mask, bring it on top. Tears of Sorrow, you're only allowed to exist where the box is. So we're going to change the width and the height. Maybe a bit more height. Let's go back and see. This is where we're going to start. I'm just going to move 2 frames up. And I'm going to set a keyframe. We're going to bring this out. Right out. And right about here is where it gets revealed. And we're going to add a little bit of a soft edge. Let's go in between. And let's pull back the border width just a bit. There you go. Okay. Of sorrow. So I think sorrow will be right about there. Right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have this rotate. As this gets revealed. So let's do with the rotation first. So I'm going to come over here and no, let's do the reveal first and I'll do the rotation after. And I'll explain why. So same thing. I'm going to grab a rectangle, put it on here. Sorrow, you're only allowed to exist where I tell you to. Height. Width. About this width. Let's see where you start. So I'm going to go back here. We are going to set a keyframe here. And then we're going to move you here and put just a little bit and border. How does that look? Bit more? Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So let's see what that looks like here. Okay, that's looking good to me. So now we've got our first two sentences. And what we're going to do with these is we're now going to animate them. And I know we've already animated the sentence, like the words. What we're going to do is we're going to animate it here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this into a 3D box. So I've got my merged 2D here. I'm going to re-enable this. And now the problem that we have, if we take a look at this, sorry, render, is that the texts are going to be overlapping. So I want this second section of text to be flipped around. So the best way to do that would be to move all this and add a transform 3D. Just like a transform, but for 3D space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform this by rotating it on the X. Yeah, by rotating it on the X by 90 degrees. And if we take a look, it's now facing downwards. And we're just going to move it down a little bit too. Just a little bit. Kind of like right here. That should be good. Now, I'm going to add another transform. Transform 3D right here. And it's going to flip all of this. What? I know, right? So, stranded in the open. And right around here, I'm going to set a, because you can see the other text is starting to appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a keyframe on the X rotation on this transform, which will cause the X to all of this to rotate on the X axis by minus 90 degrees. Now, oh wait, not yet. And then we're just going to go here, just a couple of frames, and now we're going to say -90. And this is what's going to happen. And then when it gets here, I'm going to have it, when it starts making that appear, I'm going to rotate it on the Z-axis. So keyframe, right here. Like that. Now we've lost part of it. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go back here and I'm going to keyframe the translation on the Z-axis. And I'm going to pull this backwards. And actually Z and Y, I think. Yeah. So Z and Y. Let's see what that does. I'm going to go back to the Edit tab. Like that. And that's basically the whole effect. You just keep doing things like this. Now, one of the things you might notice, if you take a look, you can still see the old text back there. So we need to make it disappear. So as we turn, which was... Yeah, so right about here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image plane 3D. No, sorry, this one. And I'm going to go to the material and set the opacity. And then 1, 2, and make it fade out. And now it disappears. So when we take a look at this, I'm just going to give it a second to pre-render, or cache, I mean. So now the other text is no longer visible. You could leave it there if it makes sense for your edit, obviously. But yeah, that's basically it. Now, it's very static and it's very mechanical. There's no life to it. So let's add a couple of little things to it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our keyframes on our transforms. I'm going to go to my keyframes here. Oh, I don't have keyframes on that one. Let me just bring this down. Don't have keyframes on that. I do have keyframes on this transform. So I'm going to bring up the keyframes on here. I'm going to right click and scale to fit. Just going to bring this up so I can see what I'm doing. It's not keyframes, it's splines, sorry. So splines on this transform. Now you see, I see a bunch of stuff in here. I'm going to come over here and say, only show me the splines for the tool that I've currently got selected, which makes finding things a whole lot easier. Right click, scale to fit, back up just a little bit. I'm going to select all these and I'm going to smooth out their animation. So it'll start slower, go faster, and then start slowing down. It'll make the animation feel a bit smoother. We're going to do the same thing on these rectangles. Select, scale to fit, just back up a little bit, select them, boom. And we're going to do that on the right stop, scale to fit. I'm going to back up, select them all, and smooth them out. Okay, let's go and see what that looks like. Yeah, that feels so much better. It feels like so much more natural, less like a machine is going from point A to point B. Now let's add a bit more life to that camera. So we've got a camera 3D here. We could have done without it. Without it, like we would have seen like the full screen. But I want to add a bit of motion. So we're going to go to the camera 3D, and we are going to go to the transform. And we are going to we're going to change the X and Y positions with something called a perturbe. So I'm going to right click on, oh no, actually I'm not going to do it straight on the camera because that's going to mess the alignment I did earlier. I'm going to add a transform after the camera, and we're going to do it here. So on the transform, so the camera is going to be transformed by this node. We're going to change the X. We're going to modify it with a perturbe. Same thing with the Y. Modify with a perturbe. And same thing with the... No. Yes. Same thing with the Z rotation. So right click, modify with perturbe. And what this does is it adds a modifier. We added 3, one for X, Y, and the Z rotation. And it modifies the value between -1 and +1 with a wobble of 1 and at a speed of 1. Let's see what that looks like just out of the box. Yeah, that's a bit wild. So we're going to go back to Fusion. And I've done this a few times, so I know some good settings for this specific layout. So I'm going to go back to my perturbes, and for my positions, so left, right, up, down, I'm going to drop this down to 0.25, 0.25, and a speed of 1 is fine. Same thing with the other one, 0.25, 0.25, and a speed of 1. And then for the rotation, we're going to go between 8, 1, and a speed of 0.75. So let's see what that gives us. And I'll explain what did what here. Let's give it a couple seconds to cache. Look at that, eh? Just a little bit of camera sway. It makes it nice and floaty. And let's go back to Fusion and I'll explain what happens. So if we take a look, right, this transform, this value here will change between minus 0.25 and plus 0.25. Same thing with Y. So it'll move by a quarter of up to a quarter of the screen around, because this is 0 and this is 1. So it moves a little bit from side to side. And then it also rotates by about 8 degrees, like -8 degrees to +8 degrees. And that's it. And it just does it on its own. And if we take a look, it gives it a nice little floaty feel, right? Doesn't that look great? And you just keep doing that. Like you can now, like what I could do now is I could add another transform and move the camera off to the side to reveal text that's like way over here or downwards, or have this flip over now to the other side and have other text start to appear. That's basically what that technique, like that type of video is, and that's how it's made. It's not complicated. It's just very tedious. There's a lot that you have to do. Let's do one last little thing. Let's make it look a little nicer. We're going to add a soft glow. Where did I put my soft glow? Let's try that again. Soft glow, add, there we go. Just going to bring that down a little bit. Why is it not? Oh, there you go. Okay. Maybe not soft glow. Let's just add glow instead. Yeah, that's much better. And maybe just a tad bit of blur after? No, before. just a touch. There we go. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Doesn't that look great? And it's not very difficult. Like I said, it's a lot of work. It's not, here's some text, make me something pretty. You have to sit down and plan it out, and a lot of meticulous timing and adjusting your keyframes, but it's not hard. Anybody can do this. And it's super easy to do in DaVinci Resolve. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you liked it, hit that like and subscribe and all that jazz that I always feel weird asking. If you've got like an effect that you'd like me to try, let me know in the comments, or I'm often on the DaVinci Resolve subreddit, which is why this series is called Reddit Edit. That's where I get most of my ideas for these videos. So if you've got something interesting that you think I might like to do a video on, you can always go and ask there. And there's a lot of really good DaVinci Resolve editors that answer questions there. I'm there quite a lot as well. And that's about it. I guess we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.